Jumping Jack retires a Tigers legend and a 3-time premiership champ, while Nic Nat joins Shuey and Hearn in flying the Eagles camp. The MCG roared on Saturday night, but in unison this time, not for the Blues or D's, but a penalty scored by Courtney Vine. Hinkley's Portsman, Dimmer's going to Queensland, and Jez is getting handballs in the grandstand. Casting our eye over one of the closest finishes in AFL history, this is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub with Straight Out of the War Room with Kingy Lee Montagna.
You're in fine form, Rabsy. You are just peaking in time for finals. I can sense it. Very good.
Like the Cats of 2022. Straight Out of the Boxing Gym with Swanee Daisy Thomas.
Yes, I am here. And what about those umpires? My goodness gracious me. Jeremy Cameron kicked a goal from the pie stand.
And straight out of his muscle car with no one, Damien Barrett.
With what?
Straight out of his muscle car with no one.
No one. There was no one. I didn't catch the last bit. No, yes. I have left it up in Clarendon Street there. Good afternoon. Good morning, boys.
Hey.
Ramsey, Joey.
Big day today.
Oh, yeah. Plenty happening. The Matildas.
That's right, Daisy.
Captured
you are the
nation.
number one bandwag jumper. You've gone viral on Triple
soccer.
M. I love soccer. And you're carrying on like you know all the players.
I know Mary Fowler and
Hayley Razzo, you know?
Yeah, the Raz.
You'd get Caitlin Ford as well, wouldn't you?
I know Caitlin. She's
Steph Catley's a Saints girl. She's
and heaps of them are at
Mackenzie Arnold.
well. So.
Mackenzie Arnold. She's now the biggest name in Australia.
Have you both spoke to your networks tonight? Because you've got 360, you've got Classified.
Yep.
At the same time, the Matildas are on. So, viewership, I think, might be down a touch. Is there? Are you just going to roll?
We can concede that, can't we? Is it okay
Just roll
as an
a rerun.
AFL
No one will
person
know.
to concede it's got no hope against the soccer by percentages?
Yes.
Yeah. No, we will hopefully record earlier than normal, is my hope.
Is Ed on
Are you
tonight?
not live?
Well, it depends when it's on.
Right.
Depends when it's on. No, if it's any time before 8:30 on TV, it's live.
Yep.
And if it's after that, it's often recorded at 8:15. So
those
I haven't worked it out yet, and I know what we're doing tonight. So
One of those 10:47 starts. So we've got 360, but we've got Jared Waitley as the host. So Jared has to be across all the sport. He was watching the Ashes while he was doing AFL 360. So he's pulled rank and AFL 360 be on an hour early, 6:30. So we will be
nice.
done by 7:30. So I'll be home in time to watch the start of the game. So
It's going to be massive again, though.
Yeah,
Oh,
Like Fed
unbelievable.
Square, Amy Park. I'm going to wander down to a pub and watch it.
Are you going to get
I'm
amongst
going to
it?
get amongst it. Yeah, I like the energy.
Yeah. I might just pull out a bottle of red. I'm more worried about Sunday if we get the final. First crack, Daisy. You're what's going to happen to first crack on Sunday night? Not one person
If you think it's big right now,
Australia is going to watch it.
there'll be another layer to it of depth, won't there?
Yep.
Of how big this.
Surely it
is.
doesn't go ahead if we make it through.
First crack, I think we might have to just close it down for the night.
Shut the AFL down
I'll
as
get
well.
Jared to, we'll shut
the
that
AFL
down.
down?
Well,
Yeah.
we're shutting it down for the next week, so we'll just go a week early.
We all got our rituals. I had my ritual, I noticed, without realising it until about kick number 7 in the penalty shootout. I was standing up for the Australian shots, watching it at home, but sitting down for the French shots at goal. So I didn't realise I was doing it. That's how immersed I was in it.
Joey and I were meant to be doing specials for the Geelong game.
Carlton, Melbourne.
Carlton,
Yep.
Melbourne. There wasn't a lot of special comments to be made, and we didn't do a whole lot of watching.
Lucky that first quarter was a pretty average first quarter of footy, Carlton Melbourne, because weren't paying any attention to the footy, Damo. We were
Ramped
being
up after
very
that.
unprofessional, but then after that, the game heated up, certainly.
Speaking of that game, ended in controversial fashion, again with the
my goodness.
review system. What do we
Yeah.
think of that?
Well, it's the best we've got, isn't it?
We
It's
need
not-
to review
it's
the
not
review
foolproof.
system. We need an overhaul.
But do we have the money, though, to make it actual as best we can? Like we're
Yes,
seeing,
we do.
You think
But do we want to spend it?
Okay. Good point.
That's another matter.
Yeah. Okay.
We need. I'm still big on. We need a soft call to go up. I don't feel you can just throw it up to the review system and let them come back with an answer. I feel there needs to be a default outcome for the type of reasons that we saw on the weekend, but it doesn't mean we get it right either.
With the Jeremy Cameron one, the handball receive, why doesn't the umpire review it, and why don't they have the power to? So that was clearly a point or a goal, so it's going to stop play.
Yep.
So then just go, hang on a minute, I want to check.
I've heard this,
No.
but then we were opening all sorts of can of worms because I heard someone say, if it's a howler, you just pay. But then all of a sudden you go, well, you've got the technology. Let's look at the free kick decision and say, was that actually a push in the back before the shot at goal? Where
And
do
the
you draw
referred
the line?
50 to that point.
Yeah,
sometime.
yeah. You know,
I
where
think
do
if it's in the field of play or out, though, don't so much worry about the
But
decision.
Days, there were 2 field umpires there. They're within shot. They're within 15 metres of it happening. I mean, how does not one of them pick it up?
Can we get a robot? I mean, we're in the world
We
of
might get to that.
technology. AI just sees the game and has a nice little shield there.
Nathan Brandon like that. He's heavily invested in AI.
When a footy podcast starts talking about robots and AI, it's time to move on. Let's get to your new segment next, Damo. Ken Hinkley has re-signed at the Power. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Fair income or Fugazi, and your round 23 predictions are all still to come. But Damo, it is time for your news, and Kenny Hinkley has signed on at the Power.
He has, Rabsy, and I felt that Port Adelaide, from the absolute get-go of this, right through until yesterday when they made the announcement public, played this beautifully and basically presented, in my eyes, to the rest of the footy industry, a blueprint for how to handle a situation where someone has been their coach for an extended period of time. In Ken's case, this was year number 11. Just let it play out. Let it work. And Ken's was going to be big enough and bold enough to understand if it wasn't going to play out the way it ultimately did for him in a win-loss sense, he was going to be able to have that conversation in August in a mature way and realise that it was not going to happen. Equally maturely, before I throw it over to you guys, I reckon they've done the right thing too in how they've handled the Josh Carr deputy situation. Haven't gone public with a succession plan. Don't need to. He's there. If they start 0-6 next year, similar to what they started in 2022, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened there and then. He's going to be, by way of this deal in my eyes, the next coach of Port Adelaide by the contract of Ken. It's after 2 more years, but it could be earlier. I think it's just the perfect way to handle the whole situation.
I agree. The fact that they just said, no, we've said we'll make a decision in August. And until then, we're not taking any more questions on it. That was asked at every press conference, and that was the answer given. Perfect.
And you can take in all the full body of work and make
Correct.
a calculated decision. Unlike St Kilda, who tried to rush it to give Brett Ratton some security, you can even maybe say the Western Bulldogs now went early and re-signed Bevo. You think, well, if they take the approach now that Port Adelaide have done, let's just wait. Let's let the season play out and let's make a decision in the fullness of time. I think hopefully the industry matures a little bit and understands coaches can coach for their career, just like hundreds of players play for their career year in, year out.
And there was an edge that I felt happened pretty quickly when they got on that streak of matches that ended up getting to 13 in a row, that he was drawing out of not knowing the future. And I reckon it was just that little... People in footy clubs always talk about the 1% elements that add up to 100, and I reckon there was a couple of percentage points on that aspect of it. And even now, even the doomsayers are saying, well, what if he gets to the finals with a double chance and goes out in straight sets? Yeah, that can happen. But we've seen that happen before to good footy clubs. I reckon he's worked with adversity. He hasn't got a backline to speak of. I know O'Leary is an All-Australian key back, but he hasn't really had another recognised star in the other back post, and the forward lines are still a work in progress with Dixon going down and Marshall regularly missing as well. So I think full ticks and well done, and they've got the backstop now of Josh Carr being there without it being public, and also that being part of the narrative as to when that happens. So well done. Speaking of big decisions in footy clubs, there's not too many more with what Jack Riewoldt did during the week. Went out, I reckon, a year early, which is often the best way to exit.
Yeah, he has. He's gone out on his own terms. I think, my understanding, the superstars like him set such a high benchmark that even though his year, if you look at it holistically, is still pretty serviceable. And I think warranting another year for them at their own high level, it's a disappointing year.
Well, you both spoke on this show last week endorsing his claims to go around again. Yeah. And the Tom Lynch absence was a part of that conversation and how well he covered for him at this late stage.
Having to be the number one man when he really shouldn't be at his age. And I said his numbers stacked up to Todd Marshall and Jesse Hogan, who are both spearheading teams that are trying to play finals. His numbers are actually almost identical. So he probably could have gone around again. But I think, as he sort of said in his heart, he probably knew this was his last year. He wants to go out with a little bit in the tank, and I'm sure he will be fine in his future endeavours. But well done. One of the envious careers. Any AFL player would be envious of the career Jack Riewoldt had.
It's interesting when it comes down to, we don't know how he feels Monday to Friday. Yes, he's getting up to play on Saturday or Sunday, but it's those little things midweek where you can barely roll out on a Friday captain's run, and then you're almost playing the mental game on a Saturday going, if I can get through this or I can get going in the first quarter, that's what the little wins become. So if you do get to that point, which a lot of us do the older we get, that's probably the little thing ticking in your head going, right, this might be.
And it's only going to do it one more time now in that regard.
Yeah.
And it will be a farewell game for both he and Trent Cotchin. They're not going to be playing in round 24. That's a concession of the club that they're not going to be making finals regardless of result. And what a way for Richmond supporters to be able to go and celebrate the two careers that helped shape that football club forevermore. Guys, what do you make of Harry McKay coming back into the Carlton team? He's missed 4 weeks, and when he went down with that knee injury 4 weeks ago, that was the 4th game that the Blues had won, and they've won the 4 since his absence. They've worked beautifully since. They've taken down some big teams. Melbourne on the weekend just gone. Collingwood prior to that. The game he went down in, Harry McKay, was the Port Adelaide game, but Port Adelaide was injury depleted. He comes back in, it's a given. There's no issue with that. How's it work in your eyes, given what's happened so beautifully for Carlton.
Yeah,
in his
you're a
efforts.
bit pessimistic on this one.
I'm a little bit half glass empty. I'm slightly hesitant because you said that essentially they've won 5 games. You got injured in the first 15 minutes.
Let's go with 5 then for this
5
argument.
against Port Adelaide, Collingwood, St Kilda, Melbourne. They are flying. The way that they are playing, they're humming. So yes, he's a very good player. We understand that, and he probably slots in. But what is the flow-on effect? How does it change the dynamic? Because what effect does it have on Jack Martin, who's been in great form and playing an important role now in that forward line? Does De Koning now spend more time forward and you have 3 talls? Does that affect your forward pressure? And one of the forwards is going to miss out. Like, there is a flow-on effect. It's not just as simple as you put in a good player, you're going to be better. The AFL team, and you know as well, Daisy, when you've got 18 men on a field, it doesn't just work. If you just put in more talent, you're just automatically going to be better. It's about the sum of all parts and playing your role. So hopefully for Carlton, it does take them to another level, which is scary. But there is a slight hesitancy that it might just upset the apple cart a little bit.
So, okay, are you then saying there may be a point, if they keep winning, that Michael Voss has the luxury of leaving him out? Are you going that far?
I couldn't see that happening. He's
I
too
would
good of a
have
player.
no problem if he was available this week, though he's medically cleared and Michael Voss says, no, we're just going to keep rolling out the same team that's been winning. I don't think that would be a massive issue, would it?
Common medalist of 2 seasons ago.
It is, but we've spoken a lot about his form this year.
We have.
So
I think a lot of it's come from the Blues in their system and their effort. So they've changed a little bit of that. So you don't have to tell Harry to go out there and dominate. You say, mate, this is the expectation. If the ball's near you, you compete as hard as you can. You run down, you chase. You do everything that the people, whether it be tall, smalls in that forward line, are now required to do. We've seen it over the last 8 weeks that this is how we play. You come in, that's the expectation. If you don't, well, then maybe the question can be asked.
Here's the question then. What if this week, the way they've been playing, the ball bounces out of the forward line, they can't lock it in with their forward pressure because they're one small short, they've got
he won't run where
they've got 3 talls in there.
person.
Does that change your view at all? Does it change the view at all?
Absolutely.
Or is it still just stick
No,
with it?
if there's evidence shown that he's not doing what's required from a team point of view, but I just don't see that happening.
Yeah.
He has too much class and talent, also has a big enough engine to compete and do those sort of things. So I just don't see that situation presenting. A loss this week doesn't mean it's a failure.
No.
So that's just, we don't need to look or be so short-sighted on it.
Yep. And Damien Hardwick, it's inch by inch, day by day, week by week. It'll be next week now that they announce Gold Coast Suns his time as coach of their club. They're still dotting out some issues with contracts and money and how much the AFL Ambassador Fund kicks in. I've got no doubt it does. I know the club's not wanting to engage in public commentary around that, but I know his manager well enough to know Paul Connors. He's not going to be dying wondering on that aspect of it. It's there. There's a budget for it. You may as well tap into it. I'd be staggered if it doesn't come out. And ultimately it'll be a 5-year deal that they'll announce before, I believe, round 23. Round 24 as it is this year, as in before the close of home and away season.
Would it have happened this week if Jack Riewoldt didn't announce his retirement?
I reckon there's a bit of that.
A bit of dimmer, just letting them have the runway for the week and then not trying to overshadow it.
As
and
far
then
as
next
I know,
week.
he's back in Australia, Dace. Yeah, and I reckon that is a part of it, a part of the overall package, while they also sort out the finer details of the deal.
Is there more pressure on him now as the Gold Coast coach than any other coach? North Melbourne, Clarkson will come back in. There's expectation of improvement. But if the Suns don't make the finals next year, and this I know is a long way off and a pretty pessimistic way to look at it, the pressure builds instantly.
Yeah, you could look at it the other way. It's a free hit. He's got nothing to worry about. Like, they haven't made finals.
But
It's
they
like,
have to. He's going there as the Messiah.
All he's got to
to
do is get them in the finals, and he looks like a Messiah.
But
I don't think there's a lot of pressure in that. It's 5 years to get them in the finals. I think it's a great get. I think now finally they're relevant in this competition, Damo. I think the credibility and the profile, culturally what he'll do, but more importantly as well, the game style. His game style suits the Gold Coast, the conditions, the humidity.
So you can take that style as well, do you?
100%. They'll play the Richmond way. 100%.
So he'll bring that to the
100%.
Suns.
Craig
That wasn't just to use the talents he's got at Richmond. That's his style.
That's his style. I think that'll work. That's what Craig McRae's been able to do at Collingwood. I think Adam Kingsley's played that style at GWS Giants. I think it's the right style of footy, and I think it'll take him a long way.
I like it.
Round 23, it is huge. It kicks off on Collingwood versus Brisbane on Friday night. There is a cough button there, Joey, but
you okay?
It's fair. There you go. It's fair dinkum or Fugazi on Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Round 23 predictions still to come on Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub.
Now on the Midweek Rub, it's Fugazi, it's a Wazzy, it's a Woozy, it's a...
Joey Montagna. Tim English is the last person the Bulldogs want kicking out from fullback with the game on the line.
I'm going to go for Fugazi. I thought for a moment there when it was big Ned Reeves on the mark, it could have been a set play for everyone else to get out. And Tim English could have just taken on Ned Reeves and run the whole length of the field. That's what I was thinking in my head. He's got the athleticism to outrun Ned Reeves. But then when he started realising he got a bit lost and didn't know what to do with it, I realised that wasn't a set play. So, yeah, they didn't quite get that right.
They absolutely gassed it. Especially when Ed Richards was standing next to him at the
ran
start.
away
He
from
just
it.
said, no thanks.
So,
Come on, Ed.
they
You
nearly
demand the
got it
ball.
out.
You say, Ruckman,
That's what
genuinely
I thought.
get out
Maybe
of
he
here.
just looked at Ned Reeves like, I'm just going to take you on. But that wasn't the plan.
No.
Damo, considering they've not been outside the top 8 all year, St Kilda deserve more plaudits for their season than they've received.
For Fugazi, I feel they've received enough and significant respect and love for what they've done. They've had their moments, and they've weathered those moments.
What's this look you're
Yeah,
rolling
what do
with?
you put
sort of
pressure on
rolled
me
it,
for?
rolled
Yeah.
the bottom lip out?
Well, hang
I hope those cameras
St.
picked up on
St
that.
Kilda Mafia. So
yeah.
just be careful what you're saying.
I was interested to see what Damo said. Do you think the Saints have been getting a lot of love?
I think they've got ample love. I mean, he did take over a team that won 11 matches last year, and I know that you wanted that bloke who got them 11 matches out of the club and Ross Lyon
And he got it
in, and this
done.
is why I'm probably getting the looks. I'm not giving them enough love, but I think I feel they've received enough. With due respect too, because there were times where they did look ordinary, but they bounced back almost immediately. So, and they haven't had a lot to work with. So, yeah, you asked the question because you don't feel they have.
I would say that I haven't given them anywhere near enough love. Ross has been unbelievable. I thought they'd win 3 or 4 games for the entire season. They did that in the first 4 games. When you sort of looked at the injuries and the list that was put out, and then Ross was sort of managing expectation from the start.
But
when
there were 11 wins last year, Days.
I know, but half the side was missing in the first 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Like their best
All right,
players,
you
King,
give us the answer,
Membry.
Joe.
No. Only reason I was interested.
You're
'cause I am
intimidating me with your
Yeah,
I know. I
it was
was,
a
curious, I was
stare down.
curious to know what you're saying because I'm doing something tonight on the watch list on St Kilda for the fact that I don't think they have been given their flowers since the first 6 weeks. First 6 weeks, everyone was all over them, Ross the boss and all that. But I think through the middle part of the year, it's been very negative how poorly they've played. They're not scoring and all these sorts of things. But I think to your point, when you're the second best or first, actually number one for defence in the competition, second best, I think you deserve a bit more credit for what they've done rather than the sexy offense. So I think we probably haven't given them their due respect since maybe the first 6 or 8 weeks of the year.
Expect a call from Rui, mate.
Yeah, St Kilda Mafia.
Well, on top of that,
And
Daisy, Daisy Thomas, Ross Lyon should be in the conversation for Coach of the Year.
Yeah, that's fair income. Absolutely. For what he's done. And again, I say the same thing. The ability to have no side to start off the year with 10, 13 of their best players out and to do what they did, it has to be in the discussion. And if they do go on to make finals, which, as you said on the weekend, destiny in their own hands in that regard, has to be well and truly. So that's fair income.
Joey, Jack Riewoldt retires with a better resume than cousin Nick.
Yeah, that's fair income. No doubt about that. The resume, as we said off the top, it's the envy of most AFL players, the record that Jack Riewoldt has. I think most would probably agree Nick was probably the better footballer, but you would take Jack Riewoldt's resume any day of the week.
You can expect a call from Nick as well.
Damo, Josh Daicos and Errol Goulden are locks for the All-Australian wings.
I've got that as a fair income strongly, Rabsy. The other name that I think people might kick up for is Nick Martin from Essendon, just in that pure wing spot. But outside of that trio, correct me if I'm wrong, guys,
spot on.
you're
Spot
the
on.
footy heads on this conversation. I really feel that Daicos and Goulden, Daicos is a lock, and I feel that Goulden's all off-season performance has been really good, but I reckon he's had a particularly good 3 months.
Joey, when fit, Nic Nat is the best ruckman of the past decade.
Well, fair income. Oh, no, that's hard. No, that's Fugazi. Max Gorn over the past decade.
Ooh, I
been
thought
better.
I was about
Yeah, I
to
was
intimidate
thinking,
you there with a look.
No, not quite. He was the best tap ruckman, no doubt about that. I mean,
Most
some of the-
exciting.
most exciting. His tap. I remember sitting in some of those midfield meetings. We would spend dead set 45 minutes trying to go through every one of Nic Nat's hits and how we were going to set up and what we were going to do. It was a nightmare.
Really?
It was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh.
Was it ad hoc? Was some of the stuff behind the head,
Yeah,
so to speak?
left and right
Yeah,
hand.
so you'd have to
Yeah.
look at how Shuey was setting up and which way he was going to go, and then they would fake you out. You think he's going that way. It was a nightmare. His ruck work was as good as anyone's seen. But no, Max Gorn for a body of work as a ruckman been better.
It's a good question because obviously Max has got the 6 All-Australians. Brody's got the 2 within a similar time frame. Of the decade that Ramsey's referring to, Nic Nat's got 3. 2012, 2020 and 21.
And his last few years have been, riddled by
Smashed.
injury.
Yeah.
20 and 21.
2021. Yeah.
Wow.
I'll check the 21 bit, but there's 3.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's 2021. Yeah.
Daisy Thomas, Damo's segment on Sounding Board, Damo's Dish, now being sponsored by Cobram Estate, is proof Hutchy is the best salesperson in history.
That's fair income. Yeah. The Cobram Estate, is that the olive oil?
Yes.
So that's also dipping into Nick Rewolt's space.
I would have called that one. I'm sure I'm not getting as much
my
folding as Nick maybe for the same deal.
I haven't caught the dish. Is it worth a listen? Is it a podcast?
Hey, bring it back.
I'm publicly on record, and you probably heard it.
Yeah.
I ran out of recipes about 4 years ago, but I somehow got myself into doing it on Hutchy's urgings then. But now he's brought it back for probably his
Money
Ramsey
reasons.
highlights.
Damo, this is from Sunday.
Jay-Z's Big Three. That's up next. Ahead of St Kilda and Richmond live from Marvel Stadium.
Brownies hosting on Sunday is crawling to the line.
No, that's Fugazi because the old Brownie would have just kept talking and muddled the words up and ended up with a da-da-da-da like he did last time. He just took a breath, paused, and I reckon he got away with that. Well done.
Daisy, Jack Riewoldt is to Trent Cotchin as what Joey Montagna is to Nick Riewoldt.
Fair income.
Yeah.
If I'm interpreting that question the right way in
You
terms
can't
of
have
the,
one without the other.
Yeah, they're Joey in Nick's pouch, Trent and Jack been everywhere together from the outset. So I think you can certainly say that's fair income.
Richmond Mafia, St Kilda Mafia.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Swanee and Daisy, that sort of stuff. Set up.
Finally, this is from the weekend. We have mentioned it a couple of times. I thought it is only fair that we do play it, of course, and the Matildas play tonight. So a question for all of you. Triple M Footy's Call of the Year won't actually be from a footy game.
France just missed their last one. They get this. They're through to the World Cup semi-final.
She's on the runway here. She starts right, and they're through. Unbelievable scenes. The Matildas have won the penalty shootout in the most dramatic of fashions.
I love soccer.
Are you allowed to broadcast it that way?
Yes.
Okay.
It was on delay, Damo. We weren't live. We did it.
There you go.
We did it
Yes, you are
delayed.
then.
You can expect a call from the real mafia. the FIFA.
Brownie, Sepp
I'm
Blatter.
officially sorry.
Gianni Infantino. Round 23 does kick off with a huge game at Marvel Stadium, Collingwood versus Brisbane. We're going to get the boys' tips next on the Midweek Rub. We usually touch on your predictions from last week, but
We nailed them all.
we
so
haven't,
just
we
move
haven't
on.
got them this week, so we're just going to say you all
Nailed
got it
them.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, we did.
So let's kick on with round 23. It is Collingwood versus Brisbane at Collingwood's traditional home of Marvel Stadium.
So we put this game into context. If Brisbane win this game, they'll finish second.
Yep.
And they'll get home finals pretty much all the way through
You're
to
giving
grand
them the
final.
game against St Kilda the week after?
Yes,
Yep.
I think they'll beat St Kilda
Which is
at the Gabba.
huge.
If they lose this, they will most likely finish fourth and have to travel through the
To
final
play
series.
Collingwood.
To play, yeah.
At the MCG.
Probably, and
Yeah.
playing a prelim, either in Port Adelaide or in Melbourne. So it's massive for Brisbane. I don't think they're going to get much better opportunity to beat Collingwood without Daicos, without Darcy Moore at Marvel Stadium.
Couple
Brisbane-
of sore bodies, DeGoey.
Yeah, that's right. So, side bottom's still out, we think so. Brisbane, for me, if this is to be their year, I
Yeah.
think they have to stamp themselves and win this game Friday night. So I'm going to tip Brisbane, but I'm not overly confident, but I think they should win.
I'm following you in, and I'm going to make them my certainty for the reasons that Collingwood has now secured top spot, regardless of what happens, most likely in the next 2 weeks. And for all those reasons you suggested, and I've been big on Brisbane all year, like what they've done, give themselves a chance to set up their entire final series with this game.
I'm just going to be tipping the Pies. I'd a toss of the coin for me this game, so just leaning towards my heart, Rabbit.
As a Pies fan, it hurts me to say, but Joey Danaher always tears Collingwood up. So
Really?
keep an eye on him.
Okay.
Yeah. Richmond versus North Melbourne. We say goodbye to Trent Cotchin and Jack Riewoldt. Can the Roos ruin the party?
No, they had their chance last week. You get one more game in you when you're bottom side. West Coast had it against Essendon, and then North Melbourne had it. They both blew their chance. So, no, Richmond will definitely win this game.
No, North are about to join Gold Coast and GWS in their first 2 seasons of football in losing 20 in a row. So, yeah, not a good record.
Congratulations.
I'm going to take this as my certainty, but I'll put a margin on it, 50 plus,
As the certainty
as
part
the
of it.
certainty
Okay.
part of it.
Gold Coast versus Carlton. Carlton need to win this to categorically play finals
There's
this season.
1%, Rabsy, 1% chance. Cheerman did that for me on the weekend that they can miss out. Surely not.
But
Oh,
you
there's
can't
only
tip
a
them.
1% chance.
I think they're 99% locked.
Okay, so
So
they're playing finals.
your tip is?
I'm going to go with the Suns in this one.
Are you
Purely,
really?
I said I'd
For the
never,
storyline.
I said I'd never tip them again, so I've got to at least see that out for the rest of the season.
Their streak started against the Gold Coast Suns.
Their streak started
Their
when I
streak-
said I'd never tip them again.
Yeah, and they kicked 9 goals against the Suns. I've got them winning that game.
I think they will win, but
As
I'll
in
tip
the
the
Blues.
Suns.
It's a banana peel game.
Oh.
They could slip,
Oh.
but I'm still going to
Banana.
tip Carlton. You slip on the banana.
Yeah,
that's
I
one of those
like it.
games.
I'll be listening for that throughout the week now.
The Giants versus Essendon, another big game that could shape the top 8.
I'm not avid with what Essendon have been doing the last sort of 4 to 6 weeks. So I think the Giants have been very solid all year. They were really poor against Port Adelaide. So Adam Kingsley will have them fired up. And I think this is the certainty. Giants will win this game.
They were ordinary last week against Port GWS. I'd expect Adam Kingsley to have ramifications for some players. We might see selection issues there. But, yeah, Giants for me.
Yeah, I'll be going with the Giants. I can't take 2 wins against West Coast and North by a total of 10 points as any sort of form line. So the Giants for me.
St Kilda versus Geelong, a must-win game for both clubs. We'll start with you, Damo, because you said you didn't rate St Kilda in Fugazi. So what's
I
your
didn't
tip
say
here,
that,
mate?
but what I will also do is tip the Cats. I've just had the Cats making the finals all year. I'm not going to back away from that, despite them now needing to win their last 2 and require other results to go their way. So Cats for me for that reason. Rabsy, no confidence.
6 v 11th, and I've got a little nugget for you here, Joey.
Yeah.
The Cats have won their last 7 at Marvel when playing a team higher on the ladder.
Really?
Yeah, so for that reason, I'll be going with the Cats.
I'm going to go with St Kilda. I think if they play the way they did against Richmond last week, I thought that was excellent footy. I think they should beat Geelong that have just been average for all year. So Saints, big chance.
Adelaide versus Sydney. Both of these teams could still play finals.
I pretty much think the winner will play finals. The way the ladder predictor works out, especially Adelaide, because they've got West Coast the following week. So for as much as we wrote them off, Damo, and said they blew this season, they could sneak into the finals and still be the wild card that could cause some damage. So I think they'll beat Sydney at the Adelaide Oval. Yeah, I really like the way Adelaide have bounced back in. That loss to Brisbane at the Gabba is very, that's good form line. So I think Adelaide win.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Swans. I have been on them most of their 5 wins, and I like what they've done. John Longmire just doesn't ever concede a quarter, let alone a season. So I feel they'll just keep rolling. But I'm with Joey on what Adelaide could do if they do get in.
I need a do-over. I said the Cats would win. I'm going to go with the Saints because I tipped them yesterday. I think Adelaide win this one, and when they do, they've got the better percentage than 5th, 6th and 7th on the ladder. So win 2 games, and they're a big chance to play.
Bearsy's just told me that Jordan De Goey is officially out for this weekend as well. So there you go. The Western Bulldogs versus West Coast.
Yeah, this will be a close one.
Where's it at?
It's in Melbourne.
in
Marvel,
Melbourne.
Sunday,
Yeah,
110.
Melbourne.
Dogs will win this by.
If it was in Perth, would that change your tip?
Margin.
Yeah.
70. Let's go close to the pin margin. Let's have a go. I'll go 73
The
points.
line's 62.5.
I'll go 73.
91.
105.
We'll play that on next week, Rabsy.
Melbourne versus Hawthorn. Is this a potential banana peel game as well for the D's, Joey?
Yeah, it is. It is. Hawthorn are playing some exciting footy, but Melbourne will bounce back. Yeah, they were still. That's still a strong form line, that Carlton Melbourne game. That was a prelim finals like game. They're still my top 2 seeds along with Brisbane, so I'm going Melbourne.
Yeah, me too, for the same reasons.
Same.
And then finally, Fremantle versus Port Adelaide to round out the second last home and away round of the year.
Port.
Yeah.
That's hard. It's a hard now to win in Perth. All of a sudden, late in the year, Fremantle at home's a tough
They
win.
finally got their form
Yeah.
sorted out. But again, it happened when there was nothing at stake, and I don't read a lot into that when it comes to the big picture. And Port, I felt, was back to its best last week. I know it was only GWS, but there were some good signs there.
Port have lost their last 5 when taking on Freo in the West. So it is a bit of a banana peel, but I will be tipping Port.
Well, you can catch every game across round 23 on Triple M and, of course, on the Listener app, starting with the Friday huddle ahead of the blockbuster Collingwood versus Brisbane game with Luke Darcy, Mark Howard, Jason Dunstall, Nathan Brown, Damien Barrett, Ash Chua and Tommy Brown. This has been Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub.